Diddy's former party planner, Tanana Wallace, has revealed troubling details about his parties, claiming they involved illegal activities that drew many celebrities. Usher and Justin Bieber, who attended as minors, are reportedly preparing to testify. TMZ's Harvey Levin has also alleged seeing a tape of Diddy displaying abusive behavior.
No deal that the U.S. Attorney's Office can offer, and it's certainly not one that Diddy will accept. It would involve decades in federal prison. We're talking about mandatory minimum sentences of 10 years for both the drug charges and the trafficking. So we know that Diddy has fought charges before. There were state charges, there were gun-related, the nightclub shooting with J-Lo, but he's going to dig in his heels, and this case is going to trial. So if you're prosecutors, you really want to make sure that your evidence is bulletproof before you go.
Former close associates of Diddy are now reportedly preparing to testify against him, acknowledging that his ability to evade accountability has come to an end. As the case builds, there is growing speculation that Diddy may attempt to deflect blame and implicate others in a bid to avoid severe consequences. His career as a music producer appears to be irreparably damaged, and his primary focus now seems to be on staying out of jail. Many believe that his only chance lies in cooperating with authorities and exposing others to protect himself.
The victim, one of the victims said that Diddy shot her, and that he fired his weapon.
Right.
And there are ballistics that support that multiple weapons were fired. My position is I was defending myself.
Yeah.
I was not there to say that Diddy had a weapon and that he shot anyone. I was just defending myself. Unfortunately, he didn't handle it that way. He got witnesses to get on the stand to testify against me and lie.
Yeah.
We should have stuck together. We should have told the truth, which is that we were defending ourselves. And he didn't do that. But I moved on so long ago, because when I was complaining about what an evil person, a terrible person I thought he was, at the time, nobody listened. Everyone continued to go to the parties, everyone continued to celebrate with him.
Attorney Ariel Mitchell, who reportedly possesses video evidence against Diddy, has allegedly faced threats from individuals close to him, raising serious concerns for her safety. As a precaution, she is now reportedly carrying a firearm. These threats are especially alarming given Diddy's alleged history of involvement in violent incidents, including accusations of shooting and arson. Such a background heightens the fear and tension for those pursuing justice in this case.
Bring in these people. A lot of these people were also aspiring young artists in the music industry. And then these parties were sponsored by Motown Records CEO, Universal Records CEO. This goes all the way to the top. And so you get these people in compromising situations. The drinks were laced, the videotapes were hot, and then at the end of the day, you wake up the next morning, oh, what did I do? And then they have compromising material on you. And then they can guide your career, they could kill your career, but they got you. And it wasn't just people in the music business, as you said, there were athletes, there were celebrities, there were politicians, people from the royal family. And we were also told by the former bodyguard that Diddy was an FBI informant. So he was a snitch and was feeding information to the feds. And we don't know what that means. We haven't been able to confirm it, but even Little Rod said it's not just like Epstein. It could be worse than Jeffrey Epstein.
Include descriptions of what the witness says he saw on those tapes. So I asked him about that, and he answered what he could, given the limitations imposed on him after testifying before the grand jury. Out of those 8 videos, 8 celebrities, 6 men and 2 women, how many of those 8 celebrities were close to being underage or potentially underage?
2 males.
And of those 8 celebrities, how many of them were intoxicated or under the influence of drugs?
This is going to be all speculation. I just want to preface it by he wouldn't know if
Appear
they
to be.
were. Right.
Sure.
Appear to
Let me
be,
rephrase
right.
it.
Based on, yes.
Understand. Out of the 8 celebrities who were reported having intimate relations with Sean Combs, how many of them appear to be either inebriated or intoxicated or under the influence?
All of them. All of them.
Out of those 8, how many appear to be potentially victimized? How many might have been victimizing?
I think all. To be honest, all.
Were victims
They
or
victims.
were perpetrating?
Victims.
They were all 8 were victimized.
Yeah.
Meaning this was happening to them and they were inebriated.
Right. Not knowing, I guess, how much proof it was in it of they were doing.
And of those 8, how many seemed to be potentially minors?
2 to 3, possibly 3.
To name people in these lawsuits. We're not going to do it in interviews. We're not going to do it, without doing our due diligence, because obviously, these types of allegations are very hurtful to people if they're not true, and very hurtful, frankly, if they are true. But if they're true, you shouldn't have been in the room and you shouldn't have been participating. So I anticipate that we're going to start filing lawsuits, and it may not be big names at first, but we have a long list of names, and you might imagine in situations like this, that when a victim tells us that this person was in the room or this person participated, we want to do as much due diligence as humanly possible before we file that case. Because in the United States, in almost every state, public filings are in fact public. And when you name somebody in a lawsuit, the press is going to pick it up, and we're aware of that. So we're going to make sure that we dot our I's and cross our T's, and I expect that there will be some people named in these lawsuits that will raise some.
Start with Tania Wallace, who claims she's been at a freak off and said she saw children, and it was hard for her to say it.
It was very hard for her to say it, Ashley. So what she said was that she was flown out from LA to Miami by the Saudi prince. And they ended up eventually on Star Island at one of Diddy's parties. She says, among many other things, she goes into detail. This, she says, happened in 2018. She says that she walked into the house and there was a cluster of adults around what she described as little people. And they were dressed up as Japanese Barbies. I forgot the name. It's Eric something. You can help me out here. It's a certain type of Barbie. Anyway.
I know the name, but I've forgotten it, but go ahead.
So she explained that they were just clustered around these little people, and I kept pushing her, and she eventually said, look, they are little people who should not be at an adult party. And I pushed her, and it was apparent what she was saying is they were minors. Now, she didn't see anything specific that was going on with them other than that adults were kind of huddled around them. But she told just a wild story about what was going on in the house. Even at 7 in the morning, that this thing apparently raged all night long.
You know, it's amazing. TMZ always gets such great scoops, and this one might be one of your best as well. You got a hold of one of the freak-off tapes. Your producers have seen it. The description is, and I'll quote, "It's porn directed by Diddy himself." And a male sex worker really sort of walks through what happened in the experiences that he had. They didn't sound illegal, but they sure seem to comport with a lot of the other stories that have been told.
Yeah, so this was a threesome. What you had asked me about earlier about Tania Wallace, she said there were more than 100 people at that party, including at least 4 celebrities. But this, what you're talking about now, was a threesome, and that's something that the U.S. Attorney even referenced. And his lawyer in an earlier documentary we did, he was describing threesomes. He says it was all consensual. So yes, what we're told is that this male sex worker was flown out to various locations over a couple of years: Miami, New York, Los Angeles.